Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 10 at Churchill Downs on Saturday is the Grade 1 $4 million Breeders' Cup Turf. Let's take a look at this field. And Mike, the shortest priced favorite likely on the two-day Breeders' Cup extravaganza is the Superstar filly Enable. 9 of 10 lifetimes, 6 Group 1 victories, and a 2-time winner of the prestigious Arc de Triomphe. She just beat 4 of these common foes in the Arc. Maybe she's lost a step since her sensational season last year, but then again, she's only run twice this year. A lot of times, Arc horses that run in the Breeders' Cup bomb. Maybe it's a little bit too much. She's coming into this race relatively fresh.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, who knows if she's lost a step. I'm not willing to say that she's lost a step this year because we've only seen her twice. The one race, the prep off the layoff in the synthetic, I don't really care about that race, but she won it very easily. I liked her Arc last time. I know that she was a little bit desperate to hold on at the end, but she really ran that day. The horse that was making a run at her CA class, pretty nice 3-year-old filly. So I like what Enable's done, and your other point, your larger point, is very well taken. The Arc horses, especially the ones that win, you want to be a little careful with it when they come for the Breeders' Cup, but maybe not with her, Dan. She's only won twice this year. She's got to be pretty fresh for this.
Nice inside post position here for John Gosden, and this filly is able to utilize her tactical speed. She's not going to be coming from far, far back in this race. Frankie Dettori will probably have her in with a big chance turning into the stretch, and she's doubtlessly the horse to beat. Let's talk about some of the ones that she beat in the Arc. One of them, the defending Breeders' Cup Turf champion. That is Talismanic. Now, last year, Talismanic prepped for the Breeders' Cup Turf in an Arc prep. Finishing third, did not run in the Arc, came into the turf fresh, got a beautiful trip and ride by Mikel Barzalona, and won it at 14-1. This year, second in the prep for the Arc, they decided to run in the Arc, and no match for Enable.
Yeah, he didn't run his best race in the Arc. I don't really want to hold it against him too much. He was wide for most of that trip in there, and then he just didn't fire in the stretch. But he had run well in his 2 starts prior to that. It shows that he still can run. He retains his form. He won this race last year. I think it's a little bit tougher this year. And as you mentioned, he got an absolute perfect trip. But you know what, Dan? He's got the rail again. He's going to sit probably a similar trip to the one he got last time. He'll be able to save all the ground. They'll take him clear in the stretch. We'll see if he can back that race up.
The number 5, Magical's another one of those running Galileos. Boy, it seems like all of them are top class. 10th in the Arc, but at least she bounced back from that performance to score on Champions Day at Royal Ascot, winning a Group 1 stakes race. Still, this is a 3-year-old filly that got hammered by Enable 2 starts back. It seems like a tough spot. I think she has some ability, and it's nice to know that the 1.5 miles was no issue, because that was a question going into the Arc.
It really was a question going into the Arc, and she has handled it well in her last 2 starts. They're doing a lot of racing with this 3-year-old filly here the second half of the year. They just keep wheeling her back on short rest, and they'll do it again here in the Breeders' Cup. She's improving at the right time, that's for sure, but this is a pretty tall order for her.
Hunting Horn we have seen in North America already, 3rd behind Catholic Boy and Analyze It in the Belmont Derby, then maybe the victim of a Euro bounce in the Secretariat, where he really didn't fire after being close to the pace, maybe too close to a fast pace. He was no match for these horses in the Arc at 50-1. Timeform US believes he'll be forwardly placed. I think we can handicap the pace projector here. They've got Hunting Horn on the lead. It's hard to imagine Hunting Horn making the lead in a race where you have Glorious Empire and a race where you have Channel Maker.
Yeah, I don't think he's making the front here, especially from post 13. But he will be forward. I have no doubt about that. He's just one of those horses who's really hard to make in here. He's a huge price, no match for these horses last time in the Arc. His 2 races against 3-year-olds when they brought him over here, I mean, they give him no chance in this race.
Voltgeist had a 4-race win streak snapped in the Arc, but he certainly ran well in that race, beaten less than 2 lengths by Enable. And like Enable, this is going to be his 3rd start of the form cycle. He's got that beautiful pedigree. 1.5 miles is no issue. And listen, he beat Talismanic on the square 2-back.
Yeah, he drilled Talismanic 2-back. That was a really impressive win. I mean, just ran that horse right over in the stretch. This is a horse who, he was a Group 1 winner as a 2-year-old. He was nearly a major Group 1 winner as a 3-year-old, even though he only managed 5 races. But he's come back as a 4-year-old as a totally different horse, a much improved horse. He was on a really strong run into the Arc, and he ran well in the Arc. He had a little bit of traffic in that race down inside. He did well to be beaten less than 2 lengths in there. He doesn't have a great post in this race, and maybe he's just not going to be up to the level of Enable in this spot. He's a very dangerous horse.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they take him back. I expect a fair to fast pace in this race. There has to be with Glorious Empire and Channel Maker and maybe one other horse pushing. This horse is going to be rolling in the the stretch. Whether he can get to Enable, we'll find out. He's going to be a better price than the filly. Channel Maker is very quietly, for the Great Belmont, won 2 out of his last 3 races. It has earned triple-digit Beyer speed figures in 5 out of his last 6 starts. Do you believe that the recent improvement is due to the give in the ground? It just seems like he handles soft turf very, very well. I thought his Joe Hirsch Turf Classic was an excellent performance. I think he went a legitimate pace over that soft ground, and he just looked the most comfortable I've seen him in the stretch. I think he really appreciated the going. Would you send him here and try to take the lead from Glorious Empire? Because chasing Glorious Empire, mixed feelings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would, be all out trying to make the lead, because I feel like that's definitely going to be the plan on Glorious Empire. It seems sort of senseless to go and race that horse early if you don't have to. I believe certainly he handles the give in the ground, and that's a plus for him considering the forecast this weekend. But I believe his improvement recently is due to the fact that they've just changed his running style. They no longer take him back to last and try and rally through traffic. He's been unlucky more than once in the past. They have started to let him get himself into the race sooner in his last 3 starts. It's really paid off for them, and I think he's another horse in here. He's got a big chance in this race. I think he will get the right trip in here.
Likely pace setter is Glorious Empire. We expect Channel Maker to be sitting just off of him, as we saw in the Bowling Green. And in the Sword Dancer, Julian Leperoux just gave this horse a beautiful ride. He allowed Glorious Empire to go to the front. He rated him on a nice, easy pace, and the horse did the rest. He beat 3 of these common rivals in that race, but boy, it seems like he takes his performance to the next level at Saratoga.
It really does. 3 triple-digit Beyers in his career, all of them at Saratoga. He clearly likes that turf course up there. I'll take nothing away from him for his last 3 races. He's won them all. He's getting faster race to race, and he's one of those horses who I think you always want to be a little careful with, because he's got really dangerous speed when they let him get loose on the lead. He's just taking on a totally different class of horse this time.
Robert Bruce is a scary long shot, I think. He's 10-1 on the morning line for the great Chad Brown, 8 for 10 lifetime in his career, winner of the Arlington Million 2 starts back. Last time out in the Joe Hirsch, I just don't think he really liked the soft going. Channel Maker went to the front. It looked like Robert Bruce was going to go by him at the 3/16 pole, and just when he switched leads, it looked like the ground came out from under him a little bit, and then he just kind of finished evenly to be second. If the ground is just a little bit firmer, this is the kind of horse that has a very strong kick, and I think a ton of class.
I agree. He's run well in all 4 starts for Chad since he got over here. Last time, it's worth noting that September 29th, that was the first day the rails were down on that turf course at Belmont, the Widener turf. And so Channel Maker was riding the inside the entire way. That's where you wanted to be. This horse rode the inside for a long time too, but once IRED took him out into the clear, that's when it felt like the ground started breaking away from him. He might have been compromised by moving off the inside. The flip side of that is, and this to me is where it all comes down to price. If he is indeed going to be a big price in this race, I would use him, because I think the flip side of it is, if he's some kind of short price, it could have been the ground and getting off the rail that affected him. It also could just be that he doesn't really want to go a mile and a half, and I think that's still a little bit of a question for him, but if he's a big price, I'm going to use this horse.
Sadler's Joy was far, far behind in the Turf Classic. He was able to try to save some ground on the backstretch early with the rails being down. I just don't think that was his day. He's run well on turf courses with Given It, but I just think the ultra-soft turf course that day really just didn't work to his advantage. He's the kind of horse that needs a big pace, and I wonder in a race where there are European closers if he is the best closer. We usually talk about him in these North American grade ones and say, he's the best closer. I'm not sure that's the case here.
I agree with that. He may not be the best closer this time, but he's still better than he looks at his last 2. He's got a race in him. Boy, it's going to be hard for him to win this race day, but he's got a race in him that will get him a pretty big piece. I think if he could show up, run his best race, there's plenty of pace in this race for him. Get him some kind of a trip in here and let him run late. He can get a piece of this thing. I would use him underneath.
4th in this race last year. Give him some pace. He'll come with a kick. High Happy, you could argue, has been a little bit disappointing recently. After his 3rd in the Manhattan, a race in which he did a lot of the running on a fast pace, we had high hopes for him, and he went to Saratoga, and he just didn't seem to like the soft going in the Bowling Green. John Velasquez was riding this horse. It's uncharacteristic for High Happy to be under an all-out drive a half mile from home. And then in the Sword Dancer over firm ground, I was a little bit disappointed. I'm curious in your thought there, because he just didn't fire. Last time he got wired by Black Type. He caught good ground. I think he needs firm. I'm not sure he's going to get it.
I think he needs firm as well. He may not get it. I think that race last time as well was a little bit short for him. I think he really wants to go longer than that. The 1.5 miles to me is a perfect distance for him. He's just pretty tough to make now. I thought his Manhattan was a solid effort. His races prior to that obviously were all good. They would give him a look in here. I'm a little disappointed in his recent form. We'll see if he can turn it around.
I think Arklow might have been a little bit too confidently ridden by Florent Giroux last time out as the favorite. There wasn't a lot of pace going on. flow moved early into that slow pace, made the front, and then a rail skimming runner in career form Zulu Alpha was able to go get him. I thought Arklow ran just fine in that race, ran just fine in the Kentucky Turf Cup, his race before that. But to me, as of this point, he's kind of a grade 2, grade 3 type taking on world-class competition.
That's the real problem with him. He's a big price in this race. If you really believe that, you know, stretching him out to 1.5 miles has really worked for him lately, I guess you could try and find a way to make him, but he's just facing a way tougher field here.
Liam the Charmer was a horse that always showed potential, and I think it's very nice that the connections were rewarded with patience. They gave him a long time off, almost a year, and he has just come back a different horse. He really wants to beat you. He's a hard trier. He got that important graded stakes win in his most recent start. That being said, he just seems like he's overmatched against the likes of a Nabel or a Waldgeist or top horses.
Yeah, he seems like he's just in way too tough here, but again, he's a big price. He's coming in off of 2 wins. He's in the best form of his career. Maybe he can step it up again, but boy, he's got to step it way up in the spot.
Coming in from Brazil is Quartedo de Cordas, who is no match for favorite Aroca last time out in a Group 1 in Brazil. It's hard to really look at that form. I would have to say that those are much weaker horses than he's going to be facing on Saturday.
Yeah, they're stepping into a really tough spot for him here. He's won it 1.5 miles before. He's got that going for him, but it's hard to look at anything else on his page and think he's a contender in this race.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf on Saturday. Mike, you're looking for a price with Waldgeist. You were really impressed with the kick he showed in that race at Longchamp 2 starts back. Far from embarrassed against a Nabel last time out. And if the pace is fast, maybe the last run is the best run. He and Sadler's Joe will be making the last run.
There are some things to point you to him in this race. Obviously, when you're talking about a Nabel, if she shows up and runs her best race, she's probably just going to win. But this horse, I think, has a real chance to beat her. He's been very good as a 4-year-old.
I think Nabel again will get the jump on Waldgeist, especially with the better inside post position and what she's done in her career. She's just been remarkable. I think of the ARC winner. She's coming into the Breeders' Cup Turf relatively fresh compared to those horses, and that might be a key, and her class speaks for itself on paper. Mike's going 12, 2, 11, and 3. I'm going 2, 3, 5, and 12 in the Grade 1 Longines Breeders' Cup Turf card. It is race number 10 at Churchill on Saturday, and it has an approximate post time of 4:56 Eastern. Best of luck.